How many podcasts do you come across that have the balls to open up and let everything out there? And not only that, but let you say what you want to say. Well, that's why we're here. This is Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit. An open forum where you're part of the show. Real, raw, and nothing is off limits. And we do mean nothing. So light it up and let's set this bitch on fire. Truth, lies, and political bullshit. And now your host, Sean Morse.
Hey, Kathy, Sean Morse with Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? You said great?
Yeah, I'm doing wonderful.
Okay, good.
You know what? It's a little cold up in upstate New York, but you're in California?
No, I'm in Washington State.
So you're in Washington State, so it's going to be as cold there as it is here.
Yeah, 21 degrees, yeah.
Oh, baby, it's tough living in this cold weather.
Yeah, I'm not used to it. I was, I don't know, a California girl for about 35 years, but I still wouldn't trade Washington for anything. Love it.
Oh, God, I'll tell you, I love the warm weather and I hate the cold. But, you know, it's interesting we talk about that because we're going to talk to you about some of your experiences in the afterlife, I guess I would call it. I don't know if that's exactly how you call it, but you would think it's the total opposite. If you die and went to hell, it's going to be hot, right? But
well, there's a segment of my hell that was cold as hell. I mean, it was
no kidding.
Snow up to here. Yeah, hell is not a good place.
So let me just kind of give a brief introduction here, and you could tell me if I'm correct. But you were in your early 50s back in 1999, and you were a caretaker somewhat for somebody that you loved, and they were sick. And after they passed away, you kind of got some kind of lung issues with pneumonia and being run down. And next thing you know, you're having lung failure, which is something that certainly can take your life. So you end up in the hospital. And during the time in the hospital, they're treating you and trying to save your life. And you then all of a sudden start having some kind of visions. Is that how this all starts? You have visions of the afterlife. You kind of leave your body while they're trying to save your life. Can you give me a little idea how this happened?
Well, you're kind of close, but to save my life, it's pretty much the same thing that kills COVID people is what I had.
And so that was going to take your life if they didn't.
Yeah, I was sliding away. They said I had a 38% chance of living, and they were going to put me in a drug-induced coma so they could do experimental things, and they didn't want me awake for it. And I agreed that would probably not be pleasant, so I said sure. And the last thing the doctor said is we're going to give you an anesthetic that will make it physically impossible for your brain to remember anything that happens to you. So just go out, just go to sleep. And I had no choice, so it went black.
So now you're in the hospital, they put you in a coma. You're not supposed to remember anything because of the new medicine they're trying to put you under to keep your body from fighting or whatever it is that they're trying to do when they put people into these induced comas. And then what? All of a sudden, you find yourself where? What happened?
I just became conscious. I was aware that I was someplace totally black and there was no sound, and I thought somebody was playing a joke on me and stuck me in a closet. And I thought, well, I didn't know to get up. I didn't know if I was laying down or sitting, so I just hung out. And eventually I could see sort of a reddish glow, and I thought to myself, oh, well, maybe the sun's coming up, cool, at least something's going to happen. But it became a foggish, reddish glow. And then I started hearing people shrieking and moaning, and it got hot and it smelled terrible. And I thought, what is going on? And then as I was thinking this horrible, deep, maniacal voice came out of the fog and says, do you know where you are? And my mind is racing, and I couldn't come up with anything but an answer of hell. and then this horrible laugh. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I turned and I ran into the darkness. I didn't care if I ran into a wall or hit in a hole or what, but I just kept going. And it was pitch dark again. But then all of a sudden the lights came up. And I was like in this bombed out city. It looked like New York, where they dropped a bomb and all the buildings were falling and windows blown out, and there's fires and people screaming and sirens. And I thought, oh my God, where am I? And so I tucked in behind some fallen concrete just so I could kind of get my bearings, because I knew I was in serious trouble. And it's a long story, but there were other beings there, but they didn't seem like humans. And then there was strange noises. It sounded like maybe it was aliens. And I thought, I've just got to, protect myself, because I had no idea that I was not who I was.
So
in life.
at that moment, what do you think happened? Do you think that at that moment you went to hell, and while you were down in hell, you had a chance to, kind of hear what goes on down there, and maybe you seen the fire from hell, the red glow, and then do you think you were talking to the devil? Did the devil say, "Ha ha ha, we know you're in"?
No, because
hell?
to think that I was in hell would accept the fact that I was dead, and I wasn't dead.
Well,
So I was just, this whole scenario. It went from one to another. I would get in a bad situation, the lights would go out, I would freeze, the lights would come up, I'd be somewhere else. There was a lot of times when the lights came up where I was on this desolate road. As far as I could see was nothing but dusk. There were no stars or anything, and it was just walking and walking and walking and walking, this endless walking on this road. Again, I didn't know my spirit was out of my body. I mean, I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was tired. There's no time over there. So I had no idea how long I was there. But one after another, these scenarios kept up.
when you say over there, where's over there? Where were you?
It's
I mean, where do you go when you're looking at it from today's standpoint? Because now, thank God, you're alive and well.
not thank God. We'll discuss that later.
How about this? You're alive and well, so you have a chance to dwell.
Yeah. Well,
You have
I
a
was.
chance to dwell on.
Yeah,
this.
right. But it's the other side. That's all I can. It's the other side of the veil.
So,
It's
so what
not
did you-
here.
What were you seeing, Kath? I mean, if your body was in the hospital and your spirit left your body, as
Yeah.
you believe that it did,
It did.
and you end up in a dark place with some scary voices, and you see the red, and then all of a sudden, you say, "Am I in hell?" And they laugh, and they give you this, this, and then you start showing up in other places.
Right.
It's kind of
Right.
like Scrooge, right? And then when you watch
Right.
the show,
Exactly.
right, the three ghosts keep taking them to other places. Where were they
Exactly.
taking you? Were they taking you to the future? Were you seeing what the world would be? Is it hell on earth? Is Earth hell? I mean,
No,
what is it
no,
when
no.
you're going to these other places that you're seeing? Is it just visions of something? Are you seeing?
No, it was
visions?
not visions. I
No?
was there. I was there. My
So-
soul, my spirit, whoever I am really outside this hunk of meat was there. This is just a vehicle. This is like a car.
Yeah.
You get your soul in your car and you drive around through life, and then when you're tired of it, you park the damn car and you get out and you go to where you really belong,
But
which
it's-
is the other side, which is heaven.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because look at there's an old saying: everybody wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die to get there, right? Because people are scared of death.
Sure.
And they all want to know: is there an afterlife? Like if you're a
Yes.
Christian, you believe that you follow these Christian values, and then you either get judged and go to heaven and hell, or God is all forgiving, so He's always going to forgive you as long as you believe in Him. I mean, there's a lot of things that people try to think in their mind because dying is scary for a lot of people. You're telling
Yeah.
me now that you've been to hell, back, and seen all these things, you're no longer scared to die.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
And that's an
Now,
interesting concept.
that's not to go to hell, because I
Right,
made my
right.
own hell. Everybody goes to heaven, all right? Unless they choose not to by believing in the bullshit of religion that says you go to hell. That's not true.
So you
That's
believe
not
that
true.
that religion in itself is just a fairy tale, and that's not really what
It's
happens after you die.
That's a man-made way to educate, control, dominate people.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
You believe in
you
God,
be, oh God, what's yeah? How do you
so
not believe in God when you've been with Him?
okay, so
You
so you
know,
believe in God,
yes,
but
and then I mean,
you don't believe that the way to get to Him is through the way you live your life.
yes, it is, but you're going to get there anyway.
So
Uh,
even if you're
Even if
Charlie
you're Hitler,
Manson and
you're going to
Hitler
go.
and the
You
worst
can go to
people
heaven. The
ever to
worst,
live.
yes, you get to go to heaven, but you cannot go in unless you have your life review. And your
So
life review is you go and you've got a couple of angels, guides hanging off and around, and then you get to see every single second of your life, every decision you made, every good thing you did, every bad thing you did, and then they turn that around and they let you, or they, yeah, the karma thing happens where you feel how it was to interact with you. So if you're a kind and loving person, some of the times, because we're human, we're never perfect, we get to feel how warm and loving that was. If we were in an argument with somebody, we cut somebody off in traffic, we cheated somebody, we're going to get to feel how that person felt. So that is the only judgment, and it's not a judgment, it's just an experience that you get to have to see how you did on earth.
so
And
so you can see how people would be skeptical of this, right?
sure,
People would be skeptical to think, well, you could be in the hospital and you could be sick and they put you in a coma and you're really just having dreams based on like the medicine they're giving you. I'll give you an
no,
example. When my mom was sick,
okay,
and she had cancer and was dying,
hmm,
and back then what they would do is they'd give you morphine,
right,
and really what it was is a way to make your heart stop and
yeah,
go to heaven if that's what you believe,
yeah,
rather than suffering from the cancer that was eating you alive.
right,
But
right,
she would
right,
wake up at times and say, there's a man following me with a dark black hat and he's trying to get me.
hmm,
And I used to think to myself, man, what is she talking about? And she was so scared.
yeah,
And I used to say to myself and my brothers, it's the morphine, because
it
that's what other
is,
people would say. Hey, that's the
hmm,
morphine. The doctor would say, we see it all the time. It's the
yeah,
morphine. I say, how do you
right,
know it's morphine? They say, we had people here that were, part of a religious priests, nuns, people that you would think that have a, uh, a bus ride right to heaven, have the same experiences where they would see things, and we believed it was the medicine. So how do you
mhm.
know that it wasn't the medicine? What makes you
What
feel
did
so
he say
strong?
to me? He said, you will be unable to remember anything. Your
Well,
brain cannot, and other people who have died, same thing. Their brain flatlines, and they remember every second that they were on the other side, and it can be very extensive. You're registering that with your soul, your spirit, not your body.
I think that there's times when doctors have operated on people that were under anesthesia, and those people said, I could hear them talking, I could feel them cutting me, but I couldn't move because I was under this medicine. And then when I woke up, I said, Doc, I felt everything you did. So
No, oh no, no.
is
I
it
don't think they
possible?
say. I don't say they felt. They can see things if they're in their spirit. They sometimes hover above, but no, you can't feel anything in your spirit.
Interesting. I really think, again, that there's a lot of people who want to believe, right? I want to believe. Everybody wants to believe that after this life, there's something far better. But you're saying that even somebody who murdered millions of people has an opportunity to
Yeah.
go to wherever it is they go, and all they're going to have happen to them is they're going to have to feel the pain of everybody that they hurt. Is that kind of?
You don't think that's punishment? You don't think that's retribution? You don't think that's
Well,
fair?
I don't know. I'm a skeptic. I always been a skeptic.
Uh huh.
As weird as it sounds, I believe that you can die and that you'll go to heaven or hell, right? Based on what
No.
I've learned my whole life.
Yes, this is
Right.
the fallacy that we've been indoctrinated with,
And so
is
I'm a
that
skeptic.
God's going to send anybody to hell, and God is pure love and can't do that, won't do that. The only way to send yourself to hell is to send yourself, which is what I did. I believed that I was going to go to hell. I mean, my whole life I've been told I was going to go to purgatory. There was no way I could go straight to heaven because it couldn't happen. And I believed it. And so when I got there, I took all the horrible things that had happened in my life and I made my own hell. And all these scenarios that came through in the hell, I could trace back to things that happened in my life later on. This has been 23 years ago. How in the hell can somebody remember a dream for 23 years? It can't be done. This is seared into my soul. And the reason I'm here is I was sent back. I was told to come back. I had too much left to do. And now, 23 years later, at first I couldn't even move. I weighed 86 pounds. I could blink and move one finger. I thought, what kind of crap is this? How am I supposed to get everything done so I can go back to heaven? I can't even breathe by myself. So it's taken all these years for podcasts to show up and COVID to show up. Yeah. And now you're my 89th podcast in 2.5 years. What? I've gotten over 300,000 views, bringing this message back to people. You don't have to go to hell. Skip the trip. Stop believing that bullshit. It's not true.
So doesn't that just tell people go out and do anything you want? You can be as mean, rotten, and horrible and hurt people and, hurt children and kill people and do all those things, and you don't really have to worry about it because...
Don't worry about it? When you do your life review and you get to feel all the pain that you've incurred for other people, you don't think that's punishment?
No, I don't know, because if the pain ends and then you go to paradise, I don't know if that's
Well,
punishment.
Again, we believe, us formerly dead people, that you plan your life. You come down here, you want to learn things. I want to learn patience. I want to learn kindness. I want to learn things. You plan everything, everybody you're going to be involved with. And then you go home, which heaven is home, and then you get your report card. How'd you do? Yeah. This is not the only planet. There's plenty of other places in the universe you can reincarnate because people
Do you
can
believe
choose
that people live on other planets?
Oh, sure.
People like you and I,
not
or
people.
aliens?
No. We are so proud and think we're just the highest thing in the whole universe. we're this Earth, I've been told, is the lowest density of any planet and any people in the universe. This is the toughest gig. Anybody who chooses to come to Earth is super brave because it's tough. And look around. Is it tough?
Well,
it's
could
tough.
Be hell. It could be hell.
It's not hell.
There's no hell.
No.
There's a lot of people that think that when you die, God comes and we all come back to Earth and we all come back and then He judges everybody. So it's really interesting that you believe that you're predestined to decide where you want to go before you're born. How do you get to Earth?
Not predestined. I chose it.
So before you were born, somewhere you were someplace.
I was in heaven. Everybody starts off because we're souls are pieces of God.
So everybody starts off in heaven,
right?
And then you, as a
individual soul,
good way to say it, decides and says to God, "I want to go to Mars, or I want to go to Earth, or I want
not to God." There's a committee, but go ahead.
So. What's the committee made up of? Angels or
guides, spirits that have maybe done a lot of lifetimes. Just there's a hierarchy of people. There's heaven is so huge. Eternity.
Well, it's God. It's everybody.
That's why I love the idea of reincarnation because it's recycling. Yeah. Recycling souls. You don't have more and more and more and more souls. But, it's really quite simple once you let your mind kind of open up and let loose of all the crap we've been taught.
Now, when your body was in the hospital and your soul was moving amongst heaven, hell, and all of the other places that, God sent you maybe or whoever sent you, you did run into your fiance or the person that you cared for. So is it fair to say that when you do pass, you will see the people that you've loved and lived through your whole life?
Oh, yeah. And this is just one life. So there's a lot of times you reincarnate with the same souls over and over. You just take different, this time I'll be your wife, this time I'll be your best friend, whatever. But it's a great homecoming when you go home. And you don't have to come back for a while. I'm going to go travel through space next time. I think that would really be fun.
So you're gonna, when you pass, it's your belief that there'll be a time and place when you're in heaven to be able to say, okay, I want to go back now. And they'll say, where do you want to go? And you'll say, I want to go to wherever another planet is where people live.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But
Yeah,
again,
we're a soul. This we all we know is Earth, and it's like if you were. This is a play, and it would be like if you were an actor and you're always in this play. You don't really know what's going on in the real world. Well, we're stuck in this play down here, and we chose it, and we do the best we can. The main things to remember, keep in your mind, is to be loving and kind. That's the basis. We are not judged, but we're trying to learn how to be loving. And God is all love. You come down here and you're separated from God, so to speak, so that it's like cheating. If we knew everything about the other side, this would have no meaning here.
Why do you think God chooses some people to see the afterlife and come back, and others don't get that opportunity? I mean,
God doesn't make any of those decisions. We have total free will. He
So-
doesn't interfere. God doesn't interfere.
So if I was to die, I could say immediately to whoever, I want to go back tomorrow. I want to go back today. But most people,
When you go home, you get your life review, and you can say, sure, I want to. And there's a committee, supposedly. I mean, this is a very
but you're not going to
organized
come back
place.
and be the same person. You're going to be.
You
somebody
can't. Well, I don't know. They're talking about parallel universes, all kinds of different planes, a matrix, blah blah blah.
But I'm saying
where our
if-
little human brains can't really understand what's going on.
when your boyfriend, fiance, passed away, I mean, if he was dead for a month, he couldn't say to God, I want to go back and see my girlfriend again, and he's going to be the same person, and he's going to come knocking on the door and say, hey, Kath, I'm home, right? I mean, that would be
that's not the way it works. It's
right,
not the way it works.
So when he says, I want to go back, if he says that, it would be somewhere else. It'd be
I don't
something
know.
different.
I don't know. We always try and figure things out. As humans, we think we're so smart, and we've got these little monkey brains. And when you get rid of this body on the other side, it's you just laugh at how free. I mean, it's like a genie being put in a bottle. This is this. Our souls are crammed into this little tiny body with this little tiny brain, and that's all we know. But it's so much bigger than this.
So for most people, again, they all want to believe in something. And it's so important that you believe in something, because if you don't have something to believe in, death is really, really scary.
Scary.
And so you spent the last 20 some years of your life going out there teaching people. You wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about your book.
The book took 20 years to write because I didn't know what the hell happened to me, and I couldn't find anybody that could tell me. It took me about 12 years before I found the International Association of Near-Death Studies with all these wonderful ex-dead people. And I started listening to all their stories, and things started making sense, except it's like, why did I go to hell? And so I've been able, only about, I think 15%, is even lower than that. Maybe 1 in 10 people have an called distressing experience. So I've been gathering those people as I go, and getting an understanding of why us, and the answer I've gotten from people who have had more experience with than I have is that this is an experience I chose because I was an unusually brave soul, and that I volunteered to come back and share this message that you don't have to go there. God loves you unconditionally, and don't burden yourself with all this religious bullshit.
Yeah. So, but then how did you go to hell? Explain to me why you think
You
that.
manifest. You understand
But
that
did
you
do
can
something-
manifest.
Did you do something wrong in life that they said you
Am
had
I
to go to hell
human?
first?
Are you asking me if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
human? No, I didn't. I chose to do this. I wasn't sent. I chose to do this as a soul.
So why
as
you
I
not-
volunteered to
go to hell.
Yes, I did. I volunteered to go to hell so that I could come back and share this with people. I'm a very, I was a very brave soul, and
Yeah, I would think if you went
I
to
mean,
hell,
who would choose
and
this?
You chose to do that. Yeah,
yes, I did, because I don't know why. When I get home, I'll find out. But
But who gave
when
you
you
the choice to choose? You?
your free will.
you could
We've all
say-
got free will.
So when your soul left your body,
You don't
somewhere
need a
along the
body.
line, you said, "I want to go to hell first. Check it
No,
out."
I didn't say that. I
I-
said that I'm looking. Who knows? I'll know when I get home. But
Right.
I could possibly have thought, look at this poor world that has been crippled by religious misunderstandings, and all these people live in fear of dying and death and of God. And this is bullshit. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to try and help people. And so, what was I thinking? I don't know.
Yeah.
I won't know till I get back home.
You'll
But I
find
know,
out, right? Yeah.
I know that I have helped a lot of people. I've had a lot of people say, I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't run into you. I was so depressed. I was so scared, whatever. And now they're freer. They can love God. They can understand. They can trust God.
What did you believe before this happened?
I was a born and bred Catholic. And I'll tell you, 85% of the people I run into that believe in hell are Catholics. And, that's a terrible legacy for a church to have. I mean, the nuns, God, don't get me started. I mean, I loved my religion for the longest time, and then didn't make sense. And, I had a baby that died. I had, 3 divorces. I had been raped. I had all this shit
boy.
kept happening to me. And I thought, I'm a good person. Why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah,
So
that's a tough
now I
life.
understand. I chose it. I wanted to learn things. I am not a victim. Nobody out there is a victim. When they say, oh, things always happen to me. Bullshit. You picked it. And you want to learn a lesson. Learn it. You might have to come back and do it again if you don't. It's just very freeing to know that you have complete control of your destiny, which is just to live a life of love as best you can, and then go home. And you can, it's just not that complicated. God loves you unconditionally.
So you write your book, and that was your way of trying to help the people.
I was trying to get this story out of my head so that it would go away, and it didn't. And I found the IANS people, and then they said, oh my God, we hardly ever hear of these distressing ones. They made me tell my story. I was so humiliated and ashamed and scared. And at the end, they were just thrilled. There was a standing ovation. And I thought, finally, I don't feel like a damned soul. I feel like a brave soul.
Now, this organization, I found it interesting that I found out there's actually colleges that teach about mediums and the afterlife and a whole bunch of stuff. I thought it was Virginia, a school in Virginia, because I was talking to another person who is an atheist that doesn't believe in God but believes in the afterlife. And this young lady is going to be part 2 of this series that we're putting
cool.
on, because there was a lot of people asking me about things like, have you ever interviewed a medium, or do you believe in psychics, or anybody who died and came back to life. So I wanted to, bring you on, because I thought, I don't know many people who said I died and went to hell, but somehow I came back, right?
Right.
And then your vision of hell was, a quick vision, and next thing you know, you're somewhere else. And I am interested, though. I'm trying to understand when you showed up in places that looked like New York City that were full of fire and all these people screaming. What was that? Was it just a vision, or is
No,
it
I
the
was
future?
there. I
Is
was
it the future?
no bullshit. No, I was
No?
there. It was
But
there.
what-
It was what happened is in 1989 I was in Santa Cruz, California for the earthquake where my town fell down and people were screaming and the fires and all that other shit. So
you
when
saw
I
that
went,
again.
that's what
Okay.
I took that and I made that part of my hell. I took another scene and I made it part of my hell. I made my own hell out of all the terrible things that ever happened to me, because I expected to go to purgatory, to go to hell, and so it wasn't there. So I made it. It's a manifestation. Your mind, your soul is very powerful. You can
So you took-
manifest things here on earth, like you. I'm going to manifest that my health is going to get better. I'm going to manifest that I'm going to be more patient with my kids. You can do that, and so you can manifest your destiny on the other side if you're not careful.
So all the bad things that happened to you in your life, you put them somewhere in that brain, whatever part of the brain it is.
Not brain, is soul.
So you can take things from life and put them in your soul while you're still alive. and then you
You know,
pass on, and while you're there, those things that you've
no,
experienced,
this is an unusual
it's
situation.
hard to understand. It really,
Of course it is.
it's hard to
It's
explain.
big, and
Yeah, it's big.
the people that I have talked to that have had other distressing experience talk about the segments. So they they made their own hell too. And if you like I say, you got to be real careful about your setting your intentions because they will happen. That's your free will saying, "Oh, okay, you think you're going to go to hell? Let's go." But if you believe that God is all loving and all forgiving, and that you will go straight to heaven, you will. It's you got a lot of power. That
Well,
don't misuse it.
but let me go into this thing about bad people because I'm really interested. Not that I'm a bad guy and I expect to go to hell by no means, but there are bad people in the world. The Charlie Mansons, the Hitlers, the people that have killed and raped and murdered, and and can you expect that they're going to go to hell? And if they do go to hell, is it fair to say, based on this conversation, the only thing they really have to do is have a desire in their soul to get out of there, and they'll end up in heaven? I really like to know what your thought is on that.
I can give you my opinion and I can give you what I've heard from a lot of different other people, but we're really not going to know those questions until we get there ourselves. But there
Let's
is
hope I don't
even
go there.
yeah, just skip the trip. So quantum physics and mechanics and all that. I was watching something on Gaia the other day, and they were talking about energy, positive energy, negative energy, whatever you want to call it. It never goes away. It just changes. It can go from one to the other. So that's kind of that thought about, okay, negative energy. If someone is evil and likes it, and they get over on the other side and they're really uncomfortable with this, the angels and the kitties and stuff, they just want to stay in that negative energy, then they're allowed to do that. I'm told that there is negative energy. It's not, quote, in heaven, but it's some other place, undefined at this point. And the negative energy attracts itself to other negative energy. So supposedly I don't even know if hell's the right word for it, but there's a pool, supposedly, again, I'm just telling you what I've heard, of
Okay.
negative energy where the souls can come and be unhappy.
So basically, there's a bad boys club, and if they want to stay there, they can stay there.
But if
Yes.
we were speaking earlier about, but what about people? Do they have to believe in heaven to go? Do they have to want to have? No. In Ions, I can't tell you how many confirmed atheists didn't believe in anything. They were going to die. It was going to be black. It was it. They go straight to heaven, and they get a nice surprise. I find that a little disturbing,
You're
But
disappointing.
hey, well, yeah, hey, man. But anyway, that seems to be the way it works. I mean, we start in heaven, and we're destined to go back to heaven, and we're just down here checking it out and learning stuff. And the people that maybe like Hitler. Now, my interpretation, or what I think of, is what happens is the life review. If Hitler had a life review, whereas he gets to see every single second of his life and the ramifications of all his actions, and then they flip that over and they say, okay, you're going to feel all the love you put out, you're going to have back, Mr. Hitler, but you're also going to feel all the grief and pain and horror and terror of every single one of these people you've influenced and their ancestors, because that's gone on to today. He's probably still doing his life review.
Yeah, he'll be in hell for a long time. Because,
Well, it's not even in hell. It's just a life
Wherever
review.
it is.
It's just him being able to feel the consequences of his action. And Mr. Putin probably should think about that too.
you can see how this conversation, and it's very interesting. I mean, anybody who's alive always wonders what happens when they're dead, right?
Right.
And whether they believe it or not, everybody wants to believe in something, right? And listening with you, it's pretty interesting because basically they have a lot to look forward to, because as long as they really want to go to heaven, that's where they're going to go, no matter all the mistakes that they made.
But yeah, and even if they don't believe in heaven, if
Yeah.
they don't
So
believe in God,
as you would call it,
you're destined to go back.
as you would call it, I would say the religion, Catholic religion, teaches something different. You would say that's the bullshit that we're all taught, and in the
Yeah.
end, you were the one who actually left your body and kind of experienced it. And we're just kind of people who have to either believe it, think it's bullshit, think it's not true, think it could have been medicine that put you in a coma and you're having dreams, right? But regardless of what it is, it's interesting enough that everybody who watches this podcast can at least say, man, if that lady's right, we got a shot here.
Yeah, exactly.
and
It's
and we
very
might not have had a shot
hopeful.
about 10 minutes ago. And so it's important that
Yeah.
you have
Give
hope.
people hope.
Yeah,
It
hope
is.
is
It's
important,
about
right?
hope.
Even you're
Yeah,
like,
and it's not just me. I mean, there's millions of
right,
people
right,
all over the planet that when we haven't talked to one another, I mean, nobody called somebody from China and says, okay, here's the story.
yeah,
After, yeah, uh, different languages, different cultures, and they come up with, like 99% of the same story.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
that's, you can't, that's not a hoax.
Let me ask you this question then. So you believe in the afterlife, so you must, well, I shouldn't even say that. That's the point of the question. Do you believe in these mediums? Do you believe in these psychics that people can come into your house and give you a reading and tell you what your mother's doing, what your father's doing, what your great grandparents are doing, and they see them and they can talk to them? Or do you believe that to be a hoax and a way that people just prey on your hope or prey on the sadness that you have after the loss of a loved one? I mean, what's your position on that? Do you have any clue?
Well, there are some real ones. I've met
Right,
them.
right,
There's always people that are going to prey on other people. So there are people that are given this gift. I mean, the lady who published my book was a medium, and we were together for a couple of years. My dad passed away. He had he had died of COVID, and my mom and my sister and brother in law were with him because they had COVID too, so they let him come home from the hospital. I got to talk to him on the phone. I told him, Dad, look up at the ceiling now because at least one or two people are going to come get you. So watch for them. They'll be there.
yeah,
And he said,
yeah.
okay, okay. So when I hear this story, later when he died, a couple of minutes later, they called me and said, well, he was laying there and he was get his oxygen and then he'd take it away and and then all of a sudden, she said he looked up at the ceiling, up in the corner, and his eyes lit up and he got this big smile on his face. And then he closed his eyes and he died.
Yeah.
And so a couple of days later, I was talking to my publisher. We were talking about business, rah, rah, rah stuff. And all of a sudden she says, do you have an aunt? And I said, well, I had an aunt, but she's dead. Okay, uh-huh, uh-huh. I said, why? No, never mind. Who's Mary? And I said, I'm Mary. And she, no, no, the other Mary. I says, oh, I was named after my grandmother. Oh, okay. I said, what are you asking me this for? He said, well, your dad's here. And I said, what? And he said to tell you that when he passed, his mom and his sister came to get him. And he wanted you
Interesting.
to know that. And then I said, oh my gosh. And she said, okay, he's holding an apple. What's that mean? He wants you to know this is really him. And I said, an apple? I said, oh, the only thing he could eat for the last several days was my sister would slice up a Fuji apple really thin and take the skin off and he would suck on it. And she says he's shaking his head. So he wanted to make sure that you knew it was him.
Well,
Now,
that's
come on, who can make that up?
well, that's deep. That's deep, Kath. But I am probably the biggest skeptic when it comes to the fact that people can see the dead and they can talk to the dead. And I still am a religious guy and I follow my religion. And nothing tells me that you can sit at your coffee table and talk to the dead. Now, I'd like to think that it's true. I
It
like to think
is.
that I could probably talk to my mother, who's been dead for 30
Oh, yeah.
years, who died at a young age.
Yeah.
Uh,
Her
but you know
spirit's
what?
still there.
Yeah,
My dad's was still with me. I mean, he helps me find stuff. I lose shit all the time. And I say, okay, Dad, where'd I leave such and such? And I just get really, really quiet. And then a word will pop in, a cabinet. And I go over there, pick it up.
yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
talk to
I'm
him all
still
the
missing
time.
some stuff, so I might have to ask your
You
what the
tell your
hell it
mom,
is.
she's probably hanging around saying he doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah, I can't even find the socks, for God's sakes. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'd like to believe it. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't got there yet. I still, want to believe it. I just see so many people who are taken advantage of, and these people making money, or you call the psychic
Yeah.
hotline, or
No.
even those ones that you see, and I won't mention the names, but you see them on TV, and they're supposed to be, the best at being a medium, and then they come to your local music hall or whatever and charge you $80 to get in, and maybe 3 people get a reading.
Yeah.
To me, that's the
Yeah.
bullshit
That
that
is. That
bothers the
is.
hell out of me.
Yeah. That's taking
Do I
advantage of
think you can
people.
close your eyes and you can envision the people that you loved and have a
Sure.
conversation with them, and maybe hear in your own brain some of the things they used
Yeah.
to say to you?
Yeah.
I think you can. You go to the cemetery and you bow down to a stone, and you're having a conversation with the people that are there, and sometimes you hear things in your brain. I don't know if that's your subconscious brain. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's really your mother talking to you.
I think it is. I think
But
it is.
I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but I just
Yeah.
ain't a firm believer of that yet. And you know what?
Yeah.
As far as people not believing God and going to heaven, again, that's a whole different twist to what I was taught. I was taught that you have to believe that Jesus came, he was the Son of God, that he died for man, that he overcame the world and rose again and went to heaven, and that's how you get to heaven. But there's so much that the world doesn't know. There's so much that people don't know, and maybe we'll never be meant to know those things. But then again, you come along and you have a story, and you were there and I wasn't, knock on wood, right? I don't want to be
Oh,
in that
you're
position.
gonna love it. You're gonna
Well,
love it.
I may love it, but I don't want to find out until I do love it, and I hope I
Yeah.
get a few more years. But
Well, sure. When your work's done, you go home. You don't go home till it's
I do
finished.
believe that. I believe that you live, and if you wake up in the morning, that means your work hasn't been finished, and you got to
Right.
continue to go on and live. You try to live the best you can. I say to God every day, thanks for giving me another chance, because I stumble and fail, and I'm not worthy a lot of times, but you keep believing
Yeah.
that the right thing will happen, and when your time
Yeah.
comes, you'll go to
Yeah.
heaven, and you'll see
Yes.
the people that you love more than
Yeah.
anything, right? Here's the one thing that I can tell you for sure
Okay.
about dying.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I don't know if any of it's real, if it's truth, lies, or political bullshit. I know that when you die, the people that loved you here will miss the shit out of you. They'll miss the hell out of you. They'll miss you, like something in your heart that never ever seems to heal. That's what happens when you die, that I know. Outside of that, how many people will miss you and how many people love you that much, I don't know that either. But all the other stuff is really interesting, and I'm really excited that we had a chance to have this conversation on truth, lies, and political bullshit, because that's what I want people to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
Whether
Sure.
Kathy's visions were real, whether they were just a result of being put under this deep anesthesia and her subconscious mind was working, whether she actually went to hell and escaped it because she knew in the end she wanted to go to heaven, and that there's a God waiting there for all of us to give us life like we've never known it before, forever and ever and ever, surrounded by the people we love the most. And I hope you're right, Kath. I really hope you're right. And
Well,
I think everybody,
we can kick this around forever, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
but I want to have hope that you're right, because it gives a lot of people watching this podcast who thought maybe their chances were
Sure.
were slim to none.
No,
And
no,
now
no,
they
no,
know
no.
that if they really want to go to heaven,
Just do the best you can. We're all human. We're just frail. We make mistakes, but that's why we're here. You don't learn anything if you don't make a mistake.
Well, that's the
So,
truth. You gotta make mistakes. The question is, when you get back up, did you learn something, or do you keep making the same mistake over and over? And I hope that whoever's listening, who's ever watching this podcast, I hope you're sharing it with a lot of the people that watch you on your show, and all the people watching on mine. Get a sense that, maybe there's some peace that I leave with today, because I do know that I want to go to heaven. I'm not in a hurry to get there, but
Right.
when
That's
my
cool.
time does come, I want to know that all of the shit that I've done in my life and all the mistakes that I made, I'll take my beating, I'll feel them, I'll
Yeah.
be sorry for them, and then I'll go up to heaven, where I'll live a great life for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
in
till you
eternity.
decide to be reincarnated and go someplace else.
Well, who the hell knows, right? Who knows? Maybe I want to come back and be Spider-Man or something.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Who the hell knows? But
Yeah.
let's all hope that it takes us a long time to get there, but when we do get there, it's everything that
It's a party. It's a party. Let me tell you.
And so I thank you for joining my podcast.
Sure.
Why don't you share your book with us? Tell us where the title of your book, where we can get it, and
It's
maybe,
called Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. And that's on Amazon or wherever you can buy books. And I've got a website with the same address.
Awesome. So I hope everybody goes out there, buys your book, gets a chance to read it, and gets a clear understanding of what happens to you when you die, or at least have a clear understanding of what Kathy's experience was and how it may apply to your life. So, Kath, thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome, Sean.
And
You too.
hopefully a long time from now, I'll see you on the other side.
We will meet up. I'm sure of it.
God bless.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
You've been listening to Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit. Sick and tired of all the stuffy podcasts? We wanted to create something real, something raw, where there are no limits. Sean has held political office for 20 years, been a professional firefighter, and been through hell and back. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. See you next time on Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit.